Hi, my name is Mukul. I took GMAT coaching from top 1% and I have around 6 years of experience building edtech in India.
Just wanted to get a little bit understanding about what your GMAT journey was end to end. Like, how did you come into it? What initiated this?
Sure. So for me, GMAT journey started with my dream of getting in top MBA, let's say from India or abroad. Probably I wanted to go to top 10 B schools, and that's how my MBA journey started. And that's when GMAT became a very big hurdle in my entire journey. Like, without cracking GMAT, you actually can't think of getting into MBA school or anything, right? So that's why I wanted to really crack GMAT. I was a little scared of quants. Overall, I think all three sections I was really not good at. But however, quant was something which I was really scared about. I took the self-paced, course from top 1% in the month of February. I started my journey with that, but I think it was very indisciplined and inconsistent initially for around couple of weeks. And that's when I realized, I left my job and I was preparing for GMAT, and that's when I realized, this is something which is not going to help me, and I started pushing myself with a lot of motivation coming in from Know the World videos of top 1%. And I enrolled in the top intensive batch as well. And I think post that, the journey started in a really fun and a nice way. I started preparing initially for 6 to 8 hours per day and eventually stretched it to around 12 hours per day with long sittings of 3 hours each, 4 times in a day. And with which I think I was able to crack my GMAT and got my perfect, or let's say you can call it dream score in GMAT. So yeah.
We have the understanding that your journey was very different and difficult.
Yeah,
When you
yeah.
were
You can call
preparing.
it in some way.
Yeah. So can you tell us more about your journey? How you prepared? What were the difficulties you faced?
Yeah. So I want to bring a very point around, how sometimes, let's say, unfair the world is. I live in a town called, Hathras, and not even Hathras, let's say 20 kilometers away from the main city land. And there, I think we don't have access to Wi-Fi. Electricity is also very, subpar availability of electricity as well. And on top of it, there was so much of heat. Like in the month of April, May, when my preparation was at peak, I think a lot of days the temperature was touching 50, 49, 48 degrees Celsius. And on top of it, like no electricity and no great facilities like air condition or anything like that. I was typically studying in a fan sitting, and of course sometimes my laptop itself used to give up, like वो shut down हो जाता था, especially when I used to go to the live classes of Sandeep sir. I think laptop itself used to get crashed. A lot of times used to parallelly join from my mobile as well कि अगर ये बंद हो गया तो I'll switch to mobile. So that kind of, it was filled with these kind of difficulties. A lot of times, in the heat, like I mean, it's very difficult to study, especially when you don't have a proper atmosphere or let's say culture or let's say ecosystem to study and do things. But I think intrinsic motivation and some help from the top 1% eventually, took me to this particular phase where I scored the dream score.
So this intrinsic motivation that you're talking about that's coming from top, what was it about Sandeep sir and about top that really helped you, which you think you couldn't have found somewhere else?
Yeah, I think Sandeep sir pushing us very, very hard about getting getting into the top 1% club, right?
Yeah.
Even in the Know the World videos, he talks about a lot about it, like how do you actually become a top 1% in the world, not in India, not in your state, not in your school, but let's say how do you become top 1% in the world, in the at a global level. And that's where my dream or let's say my aspirations are. I always wanted to get to the top 1%, and that name also resonates. And yeah, so that's where I think top helped, basically pushing me beyond my limits, pushing those boundaries across.
You must have faced a lot of demotivation, demoralization during your
Absolutely, that's part of our
So,
journey, especially with the GMAT takers, right?
how did you reach out to your facilitators at top 1%? Did you reach out to Sandeep sir?
No,
Like
I
something
was in
like that
actually
happened?
touch with a lot of people from top, especially Priyansha and some more people like Natasha ma'am and everyone. And I think each one of them was super helpful in my entire journey, pushing me again and again. Whenever I had doubts, the email support is great. You generally get reply within, let's say, 6 to 8 hours maximum, but typically in 2 to 3 hours sort of a time duration. And that's how I think the entire team was really helpful in cracking my GMAT.
So when you started your journey and then when you were preparing, while you were preparing, did you imagine that you would actually crack the 100th percentile?
No way. I was always aiming, or let's say, I always used to pray to God, like, somehow 715 karwa do, let me get that 715 sort of a score, which is, let's say, first step, or let's say first score in 100 percentile club. I always dream of, getting 715, but I think with a lot of my hard work and the right coaching, right direction, I scored 745.
You shared that you always were a little worried about quant.
Yeah,
Whereas
yeah.
when it comes to GMAT, most people are worried about verbal.
Yeah, yeah.
So what was your prep for both these concepts? And then when DI came into the picture, like how did you tackle all of these? And what were your hurdles in core GMAT concepts?
No, I think Sana, you touched upon a right, point about, entire preparation journey of my GMAT. Very specifically, if I talk about quants, I would have prepared my own notes of around 45 to 50 pages, which I used to revise each and every day consistently. Like in my last 60 days of my preparation, I think, like if I'm starting my study, let's say at 6 p.m. in the evening, initial 30 minutes or 25 minutes are just blocked, let's say, to revise this entire booklet of my formula slash theory, whatever I have noted from the videos of the top versus the booklets that are given to us. You just basically revise that in and out every day. So just imagine doing this particular activity consistently, revising the same topic, same content in and out every day for around 45 to 60 days. I think that just simply gets xeroxed in your brain. So that is something, very helpful trick which I got from, let's say, top 1%, or let's say overall, in my quants journey. I think that's something which really helped me. That's one. The second point about, let's say, verbal or let's say overall RC and CR, I think you have to level up your reading ability skills, like how fast or let's say how well can you understand what passage or a question is trying to say. If you can probably answer those two things, I think verbal is going to be easy. Very specifically, RC was little easy for me. That was one section which I was really confident about because I was always an avid reader. I used to read a lot of books, like fictional to love stories to Dan Browns of the world. So, that way RC was quite easy. But if I talk about CR, I think not at all, I can replicate the same logic because I think when I solved CR, very mathematical way. Like as in with top, I think they have given us a lot of formulas, for each of the 8 categories of CR questions. And again, very similar logic of what I did with quants. I had made my own notes and revising those notes each and every page every day. So those formulas are in your brain, right? So that way, I think when I read a CR questions, it's all about then applying those formulas very, very specifically, let's say the way we solve it in quants or let's say in your mathematics. So that way, I think I cracked very easily this piece of GMAT as well, which is CR and RC.
And in terms of DI, a lot of people are very worried because if you get one question wrong, the whole set is gone. So, did confidence in your concepts, or how did you tackle DI questions?
I think DI, I wouldn't say is about concepts or anything else. I think DI is all about can you, keep calm while solving DI. So I think DI is all about, how focused are you at that particular given point, like while you're actually into the exam and solving those questions, and how calm is your brain overall. Like if you're really at peace, if your brain is at ease, you can easily crack DI. The answers are most of the time in just front of you. You just have to do simple calculation like, some plus and minus, or let's say some division and multiplication here and there. But otherwise, if you solve it at ease, I think you can crack it. And that's where I want to bring your attention towards top portal, the mock portal, which is given to, us, let's say a top 1%. I think that particular entire portal is designed in a way that, if you do it in a right way, GMAT will be, like the DI section of GMAT will be really a cakewalk.
So what were some factors or tips and tricks that made all the difference, or, which helped you cross the threshold of that 99 percentile and reach the perfect score? So
Yeah.
what were those?
Getting the 90th percentile is very easy, but like the 90th to 99 to 100 journey is the
And
toughest.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
I think if I summarize my entire GMAT preparation journey in couple of words, I think it's gonna be long sitting. Like the more long sittings and better long sittings that you can do, you will be really at ease. Second is about how calm and how can you ease your entire ecosystem around you, like your brain, your body, in and out, everything, etc. And that's where long sittings helps. Your body and brain has to be equipped enough to sit, let's say, for around 2.5 hours continuously at its 200% of its productivity. And that won't happen on just, let's say, if you just wake up tomorrow and appear for exam, and it won't just happen randomly. You'll have to prepare for it. And I think long sitting is something that really helps in that particular sense. Second is your overall confidence, your motivation, why you really want to do GMAT, why do you really want to take this so much of pain around GMAT slash your MBA, so much of money and in and out everything. If you're really clear about your, let's say, goals, perspective, why you want to do, what you want to do, I think then journey becomes a little easier. Uh, so yeah, and then if you're really confident about your concepts, your base, the theory, in and out, everything, if you're really good with it, I think things will be really good. And I wish everyone all the very best in their GMAT journey. Crack it and get to the top 1%.
so why would you suggest people to join top 1%?
Purely and purely because of the mock portal, it simulates almost the real GMAT. Second, I think because of the good question bank that we get, right? And on the third and the biggest factor, I think because of Sandeep sir as well. So, yeah.
Because of Sandeep, so yeah, correct.